Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Kicking It with Coach K podcast. I am your host, Coach K. I am here with Jake Willets today from the Toledo Walleye. He is going to share a bit about his background, his story, what's going on with him today, share some hockey stuff with us, whether it's information, crazy stories. We'll see what we can get Jake to share with us today. We appreciate you coming on today, my man.
Thank you for having me.
This show is brought to you by Brain Jerk Entertainment, Kennedy Health and Wellness. Welcome to the Brain Jerk, Eric. These guys have a ton of content every day of the week. I've said that a million times on the show, but honestly, guys, check it out. They've got content for everybody, whether it's just more adult content, whether it's sports here, whether it's wrestling, whether it's entrepreneurship. They have stuff for everybody. We also have some news coming up on some podcasts soon, so stay tuned for that. I'm actually excited. News may be that I may be stepping outside of the sports realm to do some different stuff and content too. So I'm super excited for that. And again, appreciate these guys for having this show and always doing stuff within the community, hosting events, and obviously all the content that they produce and then the platform they give to our community members and then people outside of our community as well. So again, appreciate these guys. Kennedy Health and Wellness is your one-stop shop for everything wellness, from body care to candles. We are out at Krepp's Apple Barn right now, finishing up the season. That goes on all the way through Thanksgiving. So make sure you stop out there and check stuff out. We also want to give some love to several sponsors of this show. Again, these sponsors are great in our community. They do stuff not just for our community, but for our show. They also do amazing things for our sports teams here and our student athletes. So I think that's important to highlight, that not just are these guys important for this show or for business in the community, but they're also important for the kids, right? So Amaya's Fresh Mexican Grill, Little Brown Jug, Lane's Pizzeria, IWR, Nerdy Designs, All Hard Athletics, Monroe County Sports Network, 1817 CrossFit, Big Back Prep, and Back Road Baggers. Before we jump in, just got a quote of the day. Great moments are born from great opportunities. That's by Herb Brooks. So that's just, we like to tie our quote into our guest. And obviously, man, this is a great opportunity you've had the last couple years now. We're going on your second year now. Huge opportunity. And that's when great moments within your life, within your journey, that's when they're born. So thought it was a fitting quote for today. I do want to give some love real quick to everybody who made the playoffs in our community, and honestly, not just in Monroe County, but Metro Detroit, Downriver area. Got to give some love to Whiteford, Flat Rock, Airport, Riverview, Carlson, and SMCC, as all of them moved on this weekend and all got playoff wins in football. So congratulations to those guys for advancing. And also, again, just love to anybody else who made it from our community and ended up getting to the dance. Also, anyone in that Metro Detroit and Downriver area, we definitely give you our love in the playoffs. Have a great journey. Be safe. And let's just hope for some good football. Our read of the day is The Laws of Success in 16 Lessons. That's by Napoleon Hill. Great read. It's about different concepts of life. I'll keep this short, but it's about 16 kind of different things that you should take from life that are important for you to be successful, right? And that's a great book going back to like 1925. Make sure you go check it out. All right, Jake, let's dive in, man. Let's start with just very simple. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your story.
Yeah, so I was born in North Carolina, actually, on Camp Lejeune. My father was in the military. We moved up to Michigan when I was probably 2 years old.
Okay.
Moved right in there to right in Erie. So basically born and raised in Erie, Michigan for the most part. Right when I was in high school, my parents moved to Monroe, but so basically grew up in the area my whole life, and I attended Mason from preschool to 8th grade. Transferred to SMCC for 3 years, and then came back my senior year and graduated from Mason High School. Went on to play junior hockey in Fairbanks, Alaska, and then Amarillo, and then Amarillo, Texas. So,
wow,
kind of got a little bit best of 2 different locations, I guess you could say.
right.
And then I committed to play Division I hockey at Fair State. I was there for 2 years, and then ended my college career at Lake Superior State. And then recently, last March, end of March, I signed with the Walleye. So kind of comes full circle, being able to bring it all kind of back home, and
Right.
it's great for me and my family, as haven't really been home, I guess you could say, for close to probably 8 years, 7, 8 years. So
Wow, man.
uh,
What an incredible journey. Like, I'm not even going to lie. Like, that is, wow, that is awesome, man. So I always tell our kids in football, I coach high school football. And for example, I always tell our kids, like, you got to use this game as a tool, right? It's not just meant for you to go play the game and be competitive, although that part of it's great, right? We're all
yeah,
competitive. We all want to win. We all play the sport we love because we want to be great at it. But you got to understand how much it can provide for you. So to see like your sport, for you to commit to it and to see it take you so many places, right, to experience so many different things throughout the world, really throughout the country, that's incredible, man. And I love hearing that. Out of curiosity, before we keep going, I gotta know, like, what the hell was it like being in Alaska?
um, so our season starts in like mid of September. So we were there August, and the summers there are they're unbelievable. It was beautiful for the first 2.5 months we were there, and then next thing you know, October hit and it's 10 degrees and it's snowing every day for essentially till April. So never seen that much snow in my life. Never been that cold for a 6 month span. I remember walking out one day. It was a wake up call. It was negative 55. So
Oh, wow.
we walked outside, and the family I was living with was like, "You better have your gloves. You better have a hat, because to walk the car is that bad." So I was like, "Oh." So, but it's one of those lifetime opportunities that would I've really ever gone to Alaska? Probably not. So I kind of got to
Right.
experience a full year of from the good in the summers to all the way through the winters and then the springtime. So
So a lot of adjustments, but sounds like it was beautiful there.
yeah, absolutely.
We got
It's
one of our guys here, one of our friends. He's a frequent listener of the show. He said Alaska rocks, and he said he's been there, done that. So
yeah.
it
No, it was
seems like a
definitely
beautiful
cool.
place. I'm not gonna lie, but the weather thing has always been something we've kind of always talked
Yeah.
about. Is even if we haven't been there, we're like, I bet you it's cold there though.
Yeah,
What about
absolutely. And obviously, like the big change too is the daylight and the darkness, right?
so that's a real thing, right? It's
Yeah.
just
So I remember waking up, go to the rink, eight in the morning, dark. Walk out at 2, dark. So it's just like you didn't ever saw the sunlight for a good couple weeks there.
Oh, if you're one of those people who gets kind of winter depression, that might not be
Yeah.
the place for you right there.
No,
What
absolutely.
man, just out of curiosity, like how did you deal with the adjustments of going from like Michigan to Alaska to Texas? Like this is three like completely different people, cultures, places, food, everything is just different in all three of these places, geography. How did you adapt to all that?
Yeah, I think it's when you're playing hockey or you're playing any sport, you kind of just have an open mindset when you go into it. You kind of got there, and you just kind of go and you learn throughout the day and those days, and then you kind of have guys that have been there for years or 2 years before you, and kind of tell you like, hey, this is how it's going to go. Like this is kind of what to expect when you go there.
Right.
So I had a lot of guidance from guys that I knew that had played in Fairbanks, that had played in Amarillo. So it's kind of just having that open mindset. It's just like I'm doing something that I probably would never do unless I played hockey, basically. So it was one of those
Yeah,
things.
that's awesome, man. And I'm not gonna lie, it's super cool that like there's this, I hate it, but there's this like stigma around like Erie that at Mason or at Erie, like you can't do great things, or it's just you're just gonna be kind of like a 9 to 5 and work there your whole life, or so it's just there's a lot of that around Erie. I noticed growing up and even still coaching there, and I try to tell our kids, and you're important for this message. And then I try to tell kids like, man, it doesn't matter where you come from. You can figure it out. Like you can find solutions. You can get better. It just depends on how much you're willing to do, how much you're willing to put into it, And I think people like you are just a super big message to like, if you want to do something, you can do it from anywhere. It's not necessarily Sometimes maybe the numbers aren't as big in certain cities as it would be from somewhere else or schools, but it can be done anywhere. And I think that's a crazy good message, man, for kids.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, you kind of look at like a guy like, me, like I played, there's AAA hockey, right? That's your top tier hockey and youth hockey or midgets, growing up. And then, obviously you have double A and then you have high school. And back when I was, in high school, if you played high school, it was kind of like, you do it for fun, right? You play 3 sports, you play 2 sports.
Right.
Hockey wasn't really like that dominant in my time or in my life at that point because I played football, I played baseball. But, I kind of was defied the odds, I guess you could say, right? From making it out of high school hockey into juniors and so on and so forth. So
that's awesome, man. I love it. Who did you look up to growing up? It could be hockey players, just idols. Who's some people you looked up to?
I mean, it has to be my parents. Like, I mean, I have divorced parents, but you never know. Both my families get along with each other, and I guess all 4 of them now. Now my parents are remarried, and so on and so forth. But just what they had to do to get me from point A to point B, to be able to afford and do things and allow me to play hockey. I think that was just the work ethic that they have, and they always found a way for me to be able to do it. So I think that's one thing that you look up to them, and you kind of want to resemble that when you're going on the ice. It's like my parents just worked 12 hours and then drove me 2 hours to practice. Like,
right.
It's one of those things that's like I kind of have to, like they do that so much of. They gave up so much for me. It's like, that's kind of like what I looked up to the most.
I definitely understand that for sure. Definitely get that. I love that. So let me ask you this. Throughout, you played a lot of years of hockey, obviously. Have you picked up any superstitions along the way? I've been told hockey players are very superstitious. Have you got anything good?
Not really. I guess my one thing is, when I get ready, everything on my right goes on first. So it's, my right sock, my right skate, my right elbow pad, my right shin pad, like right glove. Like, I don't know. It's just one of those things that just like a natural habit that kind of just became like a
routine.
Yeah, like a routine almost. But I'm not very superstitious.
No, not at all.
Day. No, I think sometimes when you're like that, one little thing could put you off your game a little bit. So
that's a good point. That's a good point. Don't leave it to thoughts like that to impact your performance in a game. Definitely. So one thing we definitely want to talk about on here, and that I'm sure everybody who listens obviously wants to know, is tell us about this experience with the Toledo Walleye. Tell us about how this even started, what it's been like, what's coming this season, all the above.
Yeah, so it kind of came when I was in so obviously the NCAA gave us all a 5th year of eligibility, athletes that were in, college during the COVID years. So I had just finished my 4th year, was debating on, do I want to do a 5th year? Do I want to go play pro, or do I have the opportunity to go play pro? And then Dan Watson gave me a call, who was the head coach here last year, is now in Grand Rapids, and, kind of gave me the opportunity to come down here. And, I think growing up in the area, my dad took me to the Storm games. I came to Walleye games. So, you kind of see the atmosphere and, what it's all about and how much of an impact they have on Toledo in the area. I just thought it was like a no-brainer to be able to do that and kind of come home and, live out your dream of playing pro hockey. So that was kind of how that all transpired. And obviously this year we got a new head coach, Pat Mickish. He's been awesome. We have a great team, and we're 2 games into the year right now, obviously, but our schedule starts to pick up here within the next week. So, we have a really good team, and we should be a pretty big time contender, I think.
That's awesome. I love it, man. I just want to say too, for people who don't know, who listen, who maybe are from Monroe and never ventured down or anything, like the Mud Hens traditionally. I'm not talking about like one season in particular or, but traditionally the Mud Hens in both the Storm or the Walleye, they do a really good job, man. Like the city does, like the stadium does a great job. It's all really awesome, man. Everything, the atmosphere is great. The Toledo people show up. The teams typically perform. I mean, obviously, in any sport, whether it's minor, major, high school, college, you're going to have years where something happens, right? Or things happen, a couple bad years, whatever. But traditionally, both these teams have done a really good job, man, for the city of Toledo, and just giving them something to be really prideful for and something to go do, to be honest. And I think that's awesome. Something to take your family to enjoy. And like I said, pride. That's what it really comes to mind. Like, there's a lot. If you go walk around Toledo right now, like, or maybe not at this moment, right? But you go walk around Toledo tomorrow, like, you might catch a bunch of people with Mud Hens hats and Walleye shirts, and they're very prideful of those teams, and I think it's incredible. And I think it's awesome that somebody like you has went through that journey and gets to come home. That's awesome, man. So you said you guys are 2 games in.
Yep.
And then if for anybody listening, like, where can we get is that just like on right on the website, people can go get tickets to the game then?
Yeah, I think pretty sure if you just go to ToledoWalleye.com, they'll have like a little like icon or something for tickets. Gotcha. And then I think they're on sale there. I think they have StubHub and Ticketmaster. I think have them too.
And for those who don't know, the Walleye play at the Huntington Center. So if you want to come watch the Walleye, catch Jake in action, they play at the Huntington Center. Just for those who may, like I said, people who may not be educated on the team yet, or, maybe it's casual hockey fans that don't know hockey to the depth. I just like to put that information out there.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Out of curiosity, man, what's the end goal for somebody like you that's been through this journey?
Yeah, I think obviously, you grow up, you want to play in the NHL, right? Like, that's, you play hockey, like that's what you want to do. And it's kind of just a stepping stone at this point, like, I'm not putting that much pressure on myself to make it to the NHL. I think what I've done has been, obviously I've done a lot, and to be here where I am today is, it's an accomplishment, but obviously it's, you're never really satisfied. So it's, just kind of climbing, seeing if you can climb the ranks, and, if it happens, it's awesome. And if it doesn't, like, like,
Right.
It is what it is, right? So, but yeah, obviously I think, everyone's end goal, my end goal would be to play in the NHL. So it's, it's one of those things you work towards every day. You go to the rink, that's your goal. So
I love that though. So you shoot for the moon, or shoot for the stars, land on the moon, right? That's the old saying. Want to make it there. And wherever I fall by that work is what's going to happen for me. I'm big on, and I don't push my views on anybody, but I'm big on, way things are going to happen the way God intends them to happen too. So whatever I can control, I'm going to control. And that's just kind of how it goes. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, also, what I've always wanted to know this, and I forgot to ask. We had a couple hockey players on before, and I forgot to ask this question, so I gotta ask. What is off-season training like for a hockey player?
Yeah, so I kind of got my first taste of the pro off season this year, because you're in college. You play till March, you get done with school, and the end of April there, beginning of May, and then you're back on campus the start of August. So you got a 3-month window when you're in college. So obviously you kind of take your time off, and then you get back into your workouts, usually 5 days a week. You're lifting, doing off ice, agility stuff, and then you skate probably 3 times. The pro off season is just completely different. You got from if you make playoffs, you go to finals, you're playing until June. You're almost 100 games into it. So, your off season's a little different. You got an extra 2 or 3 months, I'd say, in pro. So you kind of got to map it out, so you're not burnt out by December, because, you play double the amount of games I played in college and basically less time to say. So, so like this summer I probably started working out mid-June. And then kind of like ramped it up, obviously, as you get more towards the end of summer into September. You kind of start ramping it up more. So that's kind of like the off season a little bit.
So it's like football. It's not a in season, or it's not it doesn't end, right? It's just an in season and an off season. This is an ever going cycle.
Yes, you're always doing something. whether, you're not skating, but, you're, like I said, you're working out, you work out
Right.
nonstop, you're doing, yoga, or you're doing, agility, or just something that ultimately ends up being, for hockey. There's no really ever off season, I guess you could say.
Okay. All right. I see. So Coach Mike says that he coached you as a junior Eagle, as a
Yeah.
junior
And,
Eagle.
yep, in football.
Coach
Yep.
Mike's a good guy, man. So I coached his son this year. At Mason, I coached the defense for the varsity, but I also coached the middle school.
Okay.
So I coached Jackson this year. So Coach Mike and I had lots of conversations, man, and got close throughout the year. But he happened to mention that. I wanted to make sure I said that.
Yeah. No. Oh yeah, that's awesome.
But that's incredible. So I do want to kind of bring this up so I don't forget it. Just to the kids out there. So did you played how many sports in high school?
I played football, hockey, and then baseball.
Oh,
I
three?
stopped playing. Yep, I stopped playing football after my freshman year to kind of.
Okay.
That's kind of when I really, kind of started focusing on hockey. And I was worried about, blowing my, doing something to hurt myself that could end up affecting my whole hockey season. So that's kind of why I stopped playing football, but I continued baseball all 4 years of high school. And,
Gotcha.
growing up, I was probably a better baseball player than I was hockey. So, but hockey kind of took over there, like, between my sophomore and junior year. So.
Yeah, I remember all the baseball that used to be played out there in Erie.
Oh yeah.
With the old crew out there. I remember all the damn pickup games and lefty baseball and all types of stuff we used to play out there.
Yeah.
But
Oh
that
yeah.
was I just think it's important, man, because it's cool too to know that you can play multiple sports and still get somewhere, and that's a message we try to sell as coaches. So I'm not gonna lie, man. Like when I get somebody on the show that has accomplished something at a super high level, or somebody that I know kids look up to, right? It's one of those things where you got to use that platform to
Definitely.
give the messages to the kids of, and that's one of the messages I love. Like you can still do some different things in sports and not just necessarily stick to one the entire time. You can play another sport, have that joy, man. I'm big on like dedicate yourself to the craft, but I'm also big on like experience things while you're young,
Yeah,
I think just for
absolutely.
you to even have baseball that's big.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you see a lot of coaches, in, the professional ranks that say, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL because he played baseball, right? Like
Right.
he was a baseball player, he's a football player, but they both kind of, intertwined in a way that the way he played baseball helped him as a quarterback overall. So I think it's just,
Right.
playing different sports makes you a better athlete. It's what it comes down to.
I definitely agree with that. 100%. It's I tell my football guys, I equate it to like, if you're a basketball player, for example, in the wintertime, you're probably pretty good at cutting on a football field, right? If you're one of those people who's, especially a guy with the ball in his hand a lot, you're probably going to be pretty good at cutting on a football field. If you're a wrestler, you're probably going to be pretty physical and pretty decent at getting in position to make tackles. Like there's a lot of correlations to sports that help you for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
how do you balance hockey with everything else at this level?
Um, I think now it's probably easier than it was in college, right? I'm taking 15 to 18 credit hours in college. I think that's when it could get a little out of hand. Not out of hand, but you really got to manage your
Right.
time. You're going to class, when you practice, when you're doing all the other things. I think now I'm pro. We're at the rink early in the morning. Usually we get the second half of the day kind of to ourselves, which is, it's way different than it was in college. You get a little bit more free time, but obviously, like I said, we're playing 72 games, so you also got to take care of yourself. So, it's doing the extra, whether you're getting your body, eating, doing all that kind of stuff, sleeping. So it's definitely different, but you get some more off time, which is nice.
Okay. So it's just without the cramming of everything in the
Yeah.
schedule. That
Yeah.
makes sense, man. That's for student athletes. It's always a hard time when they go to college. It's a lot of stuff jam packed because it's typically like you typically don't have a lot of money. You're right. You're like trying to scrap to make some money. You're trying to like get to class, play sports. You might have a girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. Like it's just one of those things where it's like you got so much going on that you're trying to manage. You got friends, you got back home. You know what I mean? So I definitely understand what you mean. I just I think it's important, like your message of time management. Like you said it got almost to be too much or overwhelming or whatever the word was that you said. And I think I think the reason you were probably able to get through that, right, is time management is always how you get through those type of things. And I don't think you get to this level if you didn't manage your time well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So to kind of piggyback off of that, because one thing we talk about a lot, especially in today's society, it's super important for athletes, student athletes, to be not only maintain their health physically, but mentally. And everything we got going on in life, our busy schedules, everything, it kind of leads to that struggle. So what are your thoughts on mental health and how athletes can maintain it?
Yeah, I think, mental health is a huge thing. A lot of athletes do go through it because there are so much pressure on, on them to perform or on them to do this or, perform and then do well in the classroom. I think the biggest thing about mental health is, if you have a problem or you think you're struggling, I think you got to talk to someone. Holding it in and, boggling it in your head and trying to push it away never works. Kind of know that from experience a little bit. I think once you accept that, you might have, you might be overstressed or you might be overwhelmed or, you may have a mental health issue. I think you have to talk to someone, and you shouldn't be scared to, just because, you're this big time athlete or you're expected to be this certain figure because you're an athlete. Doesn't matter. Everyone has their struggles and everyone goes through their stuff. And I think the easiest way to kind of get out of it is, talking to someone and getting someone with help.
That's great advice. No, I love it. I think I absolutely agree with that 1,000%. I think that we, especially men, right? So as men, we're taught to kind of like be the tough guy, especially as men athletes. Like you're taught to be the man, be the tough guy, that type of attitude, right? Not to show weakness, not to have weakness. And that's just not the reality in life. Like some things cause you to have issues, cause you to have problems, cause you to work through them. So I think that's phenomenal advice, man. I love it. So this every show we do a coach's corner where it's just a message that's been on my mind, man, something that ties into the show. You've been playing hockey for a lot of days, right? And not all days have been good days, I'm sure. I'm sure you've left games and practices with less than pleased results, right? That's part of the game, part of the journey too. But winning is about how you perform on your worst days. That's our coach's corner point. So I saw this originally from a guy named Patrick Bet David. He does a podcast. Shout out to PBD, but he does an incredible podcast. And he put this out on social media the other day. And it just, honestly, personally, where I'm at as a coach right now with our program, it's kind of where I'm trying to get us to. Like, where can we build to where our worst day is better than what it is right now? Right. Like I think I've learned so many years into coaching, at least, that especially with high school teams and high school kids, and bless them, love them to death. But you have to know, like, there's ups and downs with that age of student athlete, right? There's like, we just talked about it. There's the girlfriend problems. There's the school problems. There's the at home parent problems. There's the sibling problems. There's different things that go on. And it's even simple things, right? Like the bus ride could be super long and now kids are just tired and sleepy because, maybe a handful of them didn't go to bed early enough the night before. Something like that. It's a lot of variables. And I've just learned that if you want to win at a high level, whether it's individually or as a team, it's got to be how well you do on your worst days. And I think that's super important. That doesn't mean your worst days are going to be the best results. It just means you got to be able to give effort, hold your own, and continue to compete on those days, even when it's not going your way. And I'm sure as a guy who's reached the level you're at, I'm sure you've had a lot of those days that you had to sit back and kind of analyze things, readjust, go forward from there type of deal.
Yeah, absolutely. I think every athlete, you go through that. And I think it's just one of those things is, when you step on the field or you step on the ice, you step on the court, like you control what you can control. And that's,
Yep.
it ends up being your work ethic and how much you want to put into being, on the field or how much you want to put into practice. So I think it's one of those things. It's just like, you can control how hard you work. And that's
Right.
basically how you can attack that.
Oh, 100%, man. I agree. I'm big on and just to make this quick, but I'll piggyback. I'm big on like I I- I'm so like just tuned now to like win or lose. You just got to go. Like you just got to wake up the next day and go figure it out. Even if you won, you got to figure out how to get better. You lost, you got to
Mhm.
figure out how to win, right? And we didn't have a great football season this year. And I'm so like when people ask me, they're like, "Oh, bro, you know what's going on? Y'all all right?" Da, da, da. I'm like, man, I'm just so locked into like, all right, what's now though? Like, what do we do now to fix it? What's next? Right? I'm just so like I can't get caught up in things.
Right.
So what was the name on this? So we got a comment that wants to know is Kosa as good as he say he is?
Yeah, I mean, I got a little bit of him last year for about 10 games. He's a real deal. He's gonna be a good goalie. He's gonna be he's gonna be the future of Detroit.
Okay.
So he's very very good, and he's about what as good as advertised. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm assuming you grew up a Wings fan?
yeah,
Yeah,
yep,
definitely. It's well during my childhood and probably during some of yours, it was good times to be Wings fans. I'll be
yeah,
honest. Great time.
very good, very good.
And I hate it because right now, if I'm being accountable, like I haven't seen what the outlook this year is. I know it's been a tough few years, but I haven't seen what it's supposed to be like this year. So I'm gonna have to get on my game a little better and tune into the Wings, man, and figure out what's going on with them.
Yeah, they're fun to watch this year.
Are they?
I think they are. They got some good pieces, and that some people say, they're going to be a playoff team. Obviously, you can say anyone's going to be a playoff team, but you kind of got to show up and, like I
Right.
said, you got to work. So they have the pieces to be a playoff team. Everyone thinks, and I think, but like I said, you never know.
All
It's a
right, man.
long season. There's a lot of variables that go into it. So
100%. I'll take your word though. If they might be at least a playoff, contender, at least be able to get in there. That's fun times. There's nothing like a Tigers baseball game, a Pistons basketball game, or a Red Wings hockey game playoff.
yeah,
There's nothing
yeah,
like a playoff game for these.
nope,
It's like, man, I'm telling you, when everybody talks about the cities around America that are like great at the fans coming out and everything, I'm like, hey, I've seen a Tigers game in the playoffs, and I've been down there when they've been in the World Series. I've seen a Pistons game, and I've seen a Red Wings game in the playoffs. And I'm telling you, like those, and I've seen them at
yeah,
the Joe, but I'm like, those places are rocking when that
yeah.
happens, man. It's amazing. Out of curiosity, just sheer curiosity, do you guys like as the Walleye? Do you guys do anything with the Red Wings? I mean, like anything as far as like get-togethers or practice. I mean, I don't know if you're even allowed to tell me that, but I mean, is there anything that you guys have connective wise with them?
No, not really. Obviously, they're
No.
busy. Like they play, they're playing 82 games a year. We're playing
Right.
72. Some guys will get intertwined in training camp, kind of. So some
Right.
guys will go through training camp up there and kind of slowly come down, and then. But other than that, there's not much, that
Okay.
you can really do during the year.
Well,
Just
and
because
then
we're
I
so
guess
busy too.
both you guys are playing at the same time, so
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, I guess there's not really much you could do. I was just curious on that, just because I always wondered that with like the Mud Hens and Tigers too. Like just
Hmm.
kind of wondered like y'all ever do like ever have like it'd be cool to almost see like a team dinner, where you brought both the teams together,
Yeah.
being that, a lot of you guys are aspiring to be where they're at type of deal. And although they might not like having dinner with somebody who's trying to take their job necessarily.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
One way to look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is.
Oh man. So one thing I'm curious about, this is outside of kind of the walleye and everything, but to stay on hockey for a minute, when you were playing growing up, what was hockey like? What was the popularity of hockey in this area in our community? And do you think it's declined or grown more since you've kind of been grown and moving on to, the higher levels?
Oh, geez. When I was growing up, there's probably maybe a handful of us that played,
That's
maybe
it.
4 or 5. Yeah, at least in my age group, kind of. At least in the Erie area. Monroe, it's bigger in Monroe. There's obviously way more kids in Monroe. I think it's definitely growing. I think when we shut down the rink in Monroe, that kind of hurt some stuff because obviously, your closest rink now is Toledo or Trenton. So like
Right.
in a way, I think it could have declined, but I think it's bigger than what it probably was, at least when I was younger.
Okay. So I mean, that's a positive, right? You always want to see
Yeah.
something get
Oh yeah.
get better. Is it why do you think that is? Why do you think it's not as popular in this area?
I don't know. I think like I said, there's no arena. I think that's
Okay.
you either go to Sylvania or you go down to Toledo there off Alexis, or you have to go all the way up to Trenton.
Right.
Um, it's just not really. I don't think Erie or Monroe has really been deemed as a big time. I don't know, hockey hotbed, I guess you could say. Um, so I think that might be in a way, I guess.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, man, I remember when the rink closed, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of bummed. I was like,
Yeah.
man, a lot of people used to go in there and have birthday parties and go
Yep.
skate and hockey games. And I'm not gonna lie, I kind of thought that was like a cool staple of our community, to be
Yeah,
honest.
it was, and
And,
it was always packed when I was younger.
and
Like
I
you
get
said,
it,
there's
like,
always some stuff going on there.
right. And I understand like they put the museum there now,
Hmm.
but I'm like, man, there's a lot of big buildings. The Kmart was for rent, like the
Yeah.
Crash 2000 was for rent. Like there's a lot of buildings you could have done that and left I don't
Yeah.
know, just kind of my thoughts, not to, but I thought that was a super cool staple of Monroe, to be honest, because you're right. There's not really anywhere for us to do that. And one thing I've always heard is how expensive hockey is, and I've heard that a
Yeah.
lot. But I would say, like, why though couldn't schools and teams just fundraise?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, and I
Um,
don't know, like, what's the difference in that to football? Like, I know a helmet today in football can be $300 to $800.
right.
So I'm like, and football fundraises. So I'm like, I feel like that's kind of an excuse more than anything for schools just not to do it. Where I'm
Hmm.
like, you could fundraise the money to do it. But again, like, where do you play? I think
Right.
that's the biggest. Like, where does everybody play their games? That would be
Yeah.
the
I mean,
biggest.
that is the hardest part, I think, with the location of where we are, and I think it was when I had right after my senior year was when they closed, or during kind of my senior years when they closed the Monroe rink, and I know SMCC and Monroe and all those guys had to drive, all the way to Trenton. So I mean, when you're
Okay.
asking 16-year-old kids, newly licensed, drive 30 minutes to go practice, and
Right.
who knows what time their practice is because Trenton holds all the downriver schools that play hockey. So sometimes they practice at 9 o'clock at night, and then you're asking your 16-year-old kid, newly licensed, to drive a half hour home after practice, and so I
Right.
think that's the rink did. I think it does play a big part in there not really being more schools with hockey.
That's tough. What about the sport overall? Do you feel like hockey in general now, just in the overall, not in our community, but the overall spectrum of United States, the world, and even in general, do you think hockey is growing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is. I think, like you said, there is a cost issue. So just with that, I think it is harder for it to grow. As you say, like soccer, a sport that doesn't require thousands of dollars of equipment every year. So,
Right.
but in hindsight, I do think hockey is growing and it will continue to grow. It's just I think there's got to be a way where we can mitigate the cost of what it does cost to play hockey.
Definitely. I definitely agree. And I think this is one thing too for people who may have never went to see a game. Like, go watch a hockey game. I think, and I'm a football guy, but I think hockey is in person is an incredible game to watch. Like, I put it right for me, even as a diehard football guy, like I put it right there with it. Like, man,
Mhm.
I'll take a Michigan hockey game, a Michigan, as much as I like a Michigan football game, if I'm being
Right.
transparent. Like, I'll take a Wings game all day. Like I love hockey, man. It's fun to watch in person. And I think that helps too. I think when you get people to actually go see that, experience that, and even the walleye are great for that, because what you get with the walleye is you get a less expensive ticket for a lot of people to go watch hockey, right? It's not necessarily. And then what else you get is you get the quicker drive for a lot of people, especially in our community, than going to Detroit, right?
Yeah,
Not everybody.
absolutely.
And then I hate to say it like this, but with construction, with just the reputation, whatever, like not everybody likes going to Detroit. If I'm just being real, like there's some people that will not go to games in Detroit just because like every expressway is basically, being constructed on, and they don't want to get lost in Detroit and blah, 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 that type of deal, right? You kind of get what I'm just being real. Like that's just honesty. Me personally, like I've been to a million Tigers games and Red Wings, and I'm like, I've been to concerts at LCA and everything else, but I do think that offers like a cheap ticket. It offers a quick stop for people in our community, Toledo, Monroe County in general. And I think that helps improve the popularity of the sport too. When you just get eyes to go see it, right? Because now viewership goes up on TV. You're like, man, that game was fun the other night. That's how I actually started watching it, other than coming to like your tournaments when I was young and stuff. But like I went to a Michigan Ohio State hockey game, and it was an incredible game. It was actually like a 4 going into the third, and Michigan was down and came back and won the game 9-8. It was nuts.
Right.
Man, it was the game where the brawl broke out after and everything, actually. But so fun times. But that game actually turned me into somebody who was like, I'm gonna watch the Wings on Thursday night, Friday night, Wednesday.
Right.
I'm gonna watch the Wings. I'm gonna go to some walleye game. It just, seeing it in person, I think, sparks something. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's a very fun sport in person.
Absolutely.
So one more question, man, before we get out of here. This one is one that I've talked about, and I've had baseball get answered, football, and hockey. Is hockey the toughest sport in your opinion? Why or why not?
The toughest sport to play?
Yep.
I mean, I think it's probably between hockey or baseball in a way of, it's hockey. You got to learn how to skate. You got to learn how to stick handle. You got to learn how to avoid someone trying to basically kill you and take the puck. All while doing that, 15 to 20 miles an hour at speed.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely probably one or two. And then, you look at baseball, you got to be able to hit a ball that's coming at you 100 miles an hour. And, you get a split-second opportunity to make that decision. So I think hockey probably is.
I was going to say, listen, I got a friend. I'll just shout him out. Shout out to Nate Allen from Eat My Treats. I've had this debate with him on Facebook. So and he actually thinks golf is up there as well.
Yeah.
And my argument to golf has always been simple. Golf is just not physical enough for me to put as the hardest sport, because there's a level of physicality that football, hockey, wrestling, and even baseball, there's a different level of physicality that those sports take out of your body than I think golf necessarily does.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's kind of how you look at it, right? But you got it. Yeah. So would you put hockey above baseball?
Yeah. Yeah.
By a hair.
Yeah.
I love it.
Like they're neck and neck. It's like you said, it's how you look at it.
Definitely. I definitely think so. So man, when can we catch you back in action?
We have home opening weekend this weekend. So our first home game.
Home opener?
Yep, home opener's Friday night, and then we play again Saturday night at home. So then on from there, it's we're home basically probably once a week at least.
Okay, sweet. So Friday and Saturday night at the Huntington Center, you can get your tickets, check them out. Out of curiosity, what position do you play?
Defense.
You're on defense? I like it. I like it, man. Good stuff. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to come out and catch a game. I got to figure out when, but we're coming to Toledo for all types of stuff soon. So I'm going to grab tickets on a night when we're coming out, and I'm going to make sure I come out and watch you, man, and see how you guys look this year. We had a Night Train again. The guy from earlier, he commented and said that you guys seem to be doing well. A couple rough games, but seem to be doing well, he said. So That's good, man. Good to hear that. Real quick, before we get out of here, guys, we want to give a couple of awards out that we do every week on the show. So, Jake, every week we like to just kind of give out a couple Athletes of the Week awards to Monroe County athletes or people in our area. Sometimes we feature some downriver, Metro Detroit people, but we're going to give actually our Athletes of the Week to two different, basically. Well, first one we'll start with is the entire airport offense at Airport High School. They had a playoff game this week and scored 70 points. They were extremely efficient. I think I read in the first half or first quarter, maybe they had the ball for like 4 minutes and 59 seconds and had scored. Was it first half? They had like the ball for like 5 minutes and they had like 28 or 40 points or something crazy on 5 minutes. It's like they basically scored every time they touched the ball. So super efficient offense. 70 points is incredible for a Huron League team, to be honest, too, who like to play kind of like run style, murky football defense. For them to just go out and blast people is impressive. I personally think Airport might be on their way to Ford Field. Hope they get there, rooting for them. Also, I read that Brett Moore had 128 yards and 2 touchdowns. So I want to mention his name on 6 carries. So 6 for 128, 2 tutties. He had a couple long ones. So shout out to Brett for having a good game there. Also, Kaylin Schrader from Bedford Volleyball. She had 34 assists in a win Tuesday against Tecumseh. And then Saturday, they had a event at Bedford High School for volleyball. Bedford won the event. It was called their Spooktacular Saturday. She had 91 assists on the day and 18 digs to help Bedford win that tournament. So shout out to, again, the Airport offense and Brett Moore and Kaylin Schroeder, who had obviously a great day on Saturday in a tournament and a great week helping Bedford volleyball. On this day in sports, 1950, Detroit Lions Wally triplet achieves 294 kickoff yards against the LA Rams. That's the second highest in NFL single game history. How about that? Lions are on Monday Night Football, so tomorrow night. So I had to find something that was kind of right in that realm for our on this day in sports. And then 1987, Tommy Hearns wins his 4th different weight boxing title. And for those of you who know, we had Bronco McCart on. Bronco's a friend of ours. He's also a friend of Tommy. And Tommy Hearns was one of the most dominant boxers during that time. So for that to win his 4th different weight class boxing title, that's pretty incredible. So definitely got to give that some love. So Jake, we're going to have you give us a couple links if you don't mind, if there's anywhere we can follow you, and then also the Toledo Walleye. You can find Kennedy Health and Wellness on Facebook and Instagram or KennedyHealthWellness.com. You can find Brain Jerk Entertainment on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Again, you can watch this show every week and all their podcasts live on YouTube and Facebook. You can find the Kickin' It with Coach K podcast at Kickin' It with Coach K on Facebook or Instagram. And Jake, where can we find you in the Toledo Walleye?
You can find me and the Walleye on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. That's basically all I got. And I think that's what they're mainly on too. So
perfect. Sounds good, my man. We appreciate you coming in today and joining. And guys, again, if I can encourage you, go out Friday night or Saturday night. It's the home opener. Again, Walleye games are extremely fun. I've been to a couple. I will admit that it's been a few years, but I think I've been to one since COVID. But it had been, I had a nice long streak, man. And I'm telling you, those games add a lot to the city, a lot of value this team adds. Make sure you go check them out on Friday and Saturday night. It's a great time. Thank you, Jake, once again. And guys, we will see you next week at 7 p.m.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, my